Hello, everyone. This is Pastor Greg. Joining me today is Dr. Marks. As always, thank you, sir. We have another interesting subject. Now, today's question is, what is naturalism? Like a lot of these subjects, there's kind of multiple tangents or facets. But essentially, if we were to sum it up, everything in the world around us has come about by natural means. That's a really important subject if you think about it, because if this world can be explained by natural causes, there's literally no need for a supernatural God.
That would be correct.
End of story, right?
Exactly.
But when you stop and look at it, can our existence be explained by natural causes?
Well, there's certainly been plenty of effort to do that, primarily through the theory of evolution by natural selection. That's where we get the idea of naturalism. But naturalism can sometimes be confused with what's called scientism. And that's the idea that the only way you can come to knowledge is through scientific means or the scientific method. And sometimes these two things can get confused. So we need to be clear on the difference here.
Can our very existence right now, and those watching, can we be here by natural means only?
No.
Well put. You guys take care. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I don't think that that's possible for a number of reasons. And again, these are scientific reasons. But for example, when you look at living forms, human beings, amoebas, hummingbirds, it doesn't make any difference. We are based on a chemical code called DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. And this is not like a chemical code. It is a chemical code. It records specified, that means very specific, complex information. How to build a hummingbird. It's all written into a chemical code. In our observation in real science, that kind of specified, complex information has only ever come from one source, and that would be an intelligent mind.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, nature, whether it's the ocean riding up on the shores, it usually makes repetitive patterns. I mean, sometimes things change with all the chaos in nature, but yeah, you really don't see ridiculously complex things take place that are very organized and precise in nature, like you're saying, DNA, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're walking down the street on that same beach, we might see some very unusual things that you might look from the wind and the waves. Oh, that looks like a face, or it looks like, a letter. But when you're walking down the street and you look in the sand and you see some marks in the sand that says Patrick loves Melissa, that's very, very specific information that you cannot explain by, the natural movement of wind and waves.
Basically, DNA is a language that is out of this world.
Well, the thing about it is that DNA is actually even more complex than most people know. DNA can be read for certain proteins. It can code for certain proteins going from left to right. And that very, very same code, if it's read from right to left, will code for a completely different protein. And we've also discovered that within DNA, there are parts of the DNA that are linked together in another fashion, so to code for yet another. So you have codes within codes within codes. And where do you ever find secret codes from?
Sure.
See, I mean, if you took all of the chemistry necessary for a DNA and you put it in a test tube and you shook it as long as you like, you can shake it for 100 billion years, you're not going to have enough time. It's what we call, in the philosophy of science, we call it combinatorial space, which is a great big word for if I had a safe and it has a combination, well, how many times do I have to try that combination in order to get the right one? That's called combinatorial space.
Sure.
We do not have enough space. We do not have enough time to come up with codes within codes within codes by just a random process. It's simply not possible.
You take that, so you've got a lot of organized information,
Yeah.
a crazy amount of organized information. which points towards some type of...
It points to mind. And mind is not a physical thing. That's beyond the physical.
Sure.
So when you asked me at the beginning of this, do I believe that the natural world could come about by purely natural means? The answer is no, because we have mind and we have evidence of mind, and mind is outside.
As a kid in elementary and junior high, you're taught scientific theories and laws, right? And you stop and you think about any one of those had to have been broken for us to be here today. Yes, they're repeating themselves. Yes, they're accurate. Yes, we see them and observe them. But, you know, you look at Newton's laws of motion, right? I mean, an object sitting at rest stays at rest until an outside force acts upon it. And so you rewind our existence, it would not be sitting. Something had to act upon our existence to get it moving in the first place, right?
Precisely correct.
And so every law breaks down on itself.
Yeah, I mean, even the laws themselves, when, you know, scientists recognize the fact that laws are what we call prescriptive. They simply tell us what's happening. They're not forcing what's happening. They're just a description of what is happening.
Sure.
So the laws themselves, where did they come from? When you look at physics, for example, it points to the fact that everything in this universe expanded from a singularity, a single point, and that prior to that there was nothing, no thing. And you can't get past the fact that nothing cannot do anything because it's no thing, nothing. Well, then that means that prior to the universe, there was no space, no time, no matter, no energy, no physical laws, because there's nothing to describe. Okay, there would have been nothing, truly nothing. And then all of a sudden, bang, there's absolutely everything. So either we believe that absolutely everything came into being for absolutely no reason, by absolutely no cause.
It sounds pretty funny.
Well, it's like believing in black magic. I mean, the universe is not eternal. All the evidence demonstrates that. So, you know, we either believe in an uncaused cause of everything else, that we would call that God, okay? Or we believe in absolutely nothing. Which one do you choose to believe in? So when you ask me again at the beginning, naturalism. No, the evidence does not line up for naturalism.
So if we were to sum this up in conclusion, naturalism is a means or theory that everything got here by natural causes, or what we see going on right now has always been, right? But we find ourselves in this strange paradox that, yes, even though things are going on in the world around us, and we can identify little rules or laws in science, those things, it's physically impossible for those things to have continually been going on. At the foundation, it's like there's some clear breaking of every law. And if you use the word foundation, that's the foundation in which we stand on.
That's precisely correct. The law of cause and effect is the single most observed law in all of science, physics, philosophy, and whatnot. And you cannot have an effect without an adequate cause. You cannot have an effect that begins, I should say, without an adequate cause. And that is what defeats naturalism. Nothing cannot produce something. And yet, all of the evidence demonstrates to us that everything goes back in this universe to a singularity. So it is not irrational to believe in an uncaused, eternal cause that is the cause of all of the effects that we see in the universe.
Which is interesting, because if you really go back to the cause and effect, the laws of cause and effect, really, that's all contingent upon time, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is.
And if we acknowledge that time itself is relative to the observer, that's a very confusing thing. We'll talk about that a little bit more
that's another whole
on
other
the
animal
next
there.
subject. But you guys have a great day.